I'm very much interested in this bill. Comrades, I am speaking from the point that in the history of this country, there has been a lot of instability causing infiltration of small arms in community. To begin with, all overthrows of governments in this country took guns to the community. The first one, the coup of 1971, the government that came with their guns, the one that went with the guns to the community. Likewise, 1985, every government who goes out of power goes with the guns and dumps them in the community. Which means of all these coups, there have been a lot of harms being deposited in community. Comrade, there is need to make people fear these guns. There's a greater need to make people fear to use these guns anyhow. No matter I'm here, first and foremost being from Karamoja, where there are illegal guns, there are guns in the hands of people who are neither soldiers, you don't understand them, but they are armed to the teeth. I could be the one opposing this bill, but I've come here to support the bill, to say, no, look, some of these people must be dealt with. I want to give an example in my constituency. In the last 6 years, people who have been killed with the people who have guns, who are not soldiers, are 3,985. 3,985 people, we have lost them. Police, the best they can do is to do post-mortem report. So far, we have a police station where there's a room full of post-mortem reports only for 3,980. Not even one person has been prosecuted. There could be challenges in any law. As we talk, comrade, we could be having other, people have a lot of views. There could be flaws, there could be others. But in particular, these laws are very, very vital. For example, to answer the Karamoja question, so far stability is there in Karamoja because through the court martial, most of the criminals are in prisons, which has now been done under the normal law. So I would think that, comrade, in good spirit, in order for peace to be in this country, and for some time, unforeseeable, we are not saying the law will be there forever. If this country improves, we shall keep on reviewing this law. But where we are operating currently, ladies and gentlemen, like us from Karamoja, we need to think about us. As we look here, this country are different. Karamoja is a different question. Without the court martial, there could be a different story now in Karamoja. But because of the action that the army took using the court martial, we are seeing peace. We are about to join development. We are about to join the rest of this country in contributing for progress in this country. So I would know people have different reservations about the law. Let us look at how to handle the excesses if at all they are there. But the law in principle is, we need it at this point in time. So Mr. Chair, I am here submitting that. For me, I think I'm comfortable on the special circumstances in my legal mind. The special circumstances are very critical in ensuring we govern. Because if we allow people to even use it to manipulate UPDF, if we allow people to manipulate UPDF to their will and they walk away, this is dangerous. It's good we put them in the hook so that everybody fears to go near the gun. Because the gun has been used in this country. Some of these laws are based on our history as a country. So, Mr. Chair, I strongly support that. We committee recommend this law to Parliament. We put this law in place, such that the army are governed. These soldiers, comrades, look at them also. We need to govern them. Otherwise, comrades, things can be a bit very difficult. Even in elections, they can manipulate elections and lose elections. So we better have the court martial to keep them at bay. Otherwise, I first end there, Mr. Chair.
Supreme Court ruling. And then there was an option on exception of the civilians being charged in the military court. Mr. Chair, you ably communicated that the concerns of the public, save for all the rest of the good about the bill, the issue of civilian. In my line of work as a spokesperson, and sometimes I want to speak from the center of knowledge and understanding, somebody will pop a question. Now, when you look at the categories of people, you say aid, how do you get the certification that this person is aiding? And then we have murder, aggravated robbery, kidnap, but we have competent courts as well. This morning, I was having a discussion with someone, and he asked me, look here, we had a rebel leader, General, I don't know the rank, whether he was entitled to any rank, Jamil Mukulu. And we have this court, the Criminal Division Court. And this man was never subjected to the general court martial. But you're saying where we have courts, civilian courts, that are trying people of murder, aggravated robbery, but now you're saying they should. Why don't we look at strongly empowering these courts? Because, Mr. Chair, the bill is extremely beautiful. And if this bill was speaking to a young girl, the girl would only accept to go for marriage. But there is that hiccup that we need this legal mind. How do you justify? But we still have these courts. Are we now disempowering the civilian courts? Are we really looking at that only clause to justify that the civilians? I was talking to Jonathan here. We know some people hold guns, lawfully trained, private firearms. But then how would that justification be? So, Bwana Attorney General, we need really to know so that we really speak to this. We need peace, we need to be protected, we appreciate, but we still have courts that are really competent enough to handle this as we do. Let us reflect onto that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Member for Eruteno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have really suffered in that particular area called Soy, Greater Ngenge, with gun-wielding individuals, specifically from the side of my neighbor here. And I decided deliberately to sit next to him for us to agree that let's allow the court martial to be there. An army officer only fears an organ in the army called a court martial. That's the only one. The moment you don't have a court martial, then there would be no army. It will be a ragtag army. That anybody can make a decision on his own. So we need discipline on possession of a gun. I know most of us hold probably pistols, and we fear that the repercussion would be if you commit an offense or if you are implicated, you may be taken to a court martial. But a court martial has people who use blood, and they can be able to decide whether the judgment or the case is right or wrong. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make some few observations, and specifically on the principal law and also the bill itself. The omissions on the principal law were on, one, providing definitions on the interpretation clause, number 1, definition on arms. I think, Attorney General, you need to note it, then you will provide the definition. Number 2, definition on ammunition. Number 3, a definition on military uniform. Number 4, a definition on military stores. Stores, of course, will lead you to the expendables, dry ratio, POL, which is petroleum, oil, and lubricants, arms and ammunition as well, including also clothing that include boots, uniform, mattresses, ponchos, and the rest. Another definition that needs to be captured is what has been brought up in the law, in the bill, classified stores. Then, I would like also to interest you that now we have concentrated so much on the arms and ammunition, and now we have brought in the issue of clothing. Now, why don't we look at the issue of the dry ratio? tinned beef, tinned beans, and biscuits. Now, and this has to have again markings in it that the tinned beef is UPDF and the tinned beans is also UPDF, branded as UPDF. So the packaging must be very important so that you don't only look at the gun but look at also the dry ratio that facilitates the process of course, killing. Now, again, let's look at the question of the authority to use the arm, the firearm. Two soldiers somewhere were making an argument. One was telling the other one that the gun that you are using, that you are carrying, can be authorized for use by any other commanding officer. And the soldier meant the AK-47. This other one now said, me, I operate 155 millimeter gun, and the authority comes from Commander-in-Chief. Now, can we look at, again, capturing the operation or the command on use of these firearms? At what level should the firearm be authorized by a commanding officer? Because we know very well that some of these firearms at higher millimeter and caliber must be authorized by probably the commanding or the commander-in-chief. Now, and that is only said, but not captured in the law. Now, when it comes to the question of what I talked of, arms and ammunition, you have really attempted to bring forth some of them. But let me tell you one thing, arms are in thousands. And if we are to list them, we will need several pages, thousands of pages in order to capture the caliber, including also the ammunitions. According to the list, of course, the South Korean made is not captured. What about the North Korean made in terms of arms and ammunition? What about the Russian made? What about the Japanese made? But we have attempted to mention it. Probably we would include the clause and others. And others as well. Because if you look at also the emblazers, like the landmines, then there are several of them that are supposed also to be listed, and there are many. So, including also probably the Sukhois and all that, that has its own caliber of ammunition that it uses. So, we need to be specific so that we don't leave others outside the schedules. Because at the end we will make a mistake and somebody would be carrying a certain caliber of ammunition and then tells you, but it is not captured in one of your clauses, in the schedules. So we have to be very clear with that.
Thank you,
Honorable Minister. Of the uniforms, let me finalize with the uniform.
Okay.
We have attempted to bring forth the issues of the uniforms, and we have captured it in the law that these are the uniforms that we have. Let's take this scenario. The enemy in the battlefield has already acquired the type of uniforms that is being worn by the military forces. And they are the same. What would be the strategy? The strategy is to go back and change the uniform to another color that the enemy doesn't have. Now, and we have entrenched it in the law. How do you really change that immediately? Yes. So probably you will also provide maybe a clause to align that and align the changes that can be made on the field. Thank you so much.
Honorable Keyo.
That the bill is biting too much that it can't swallow. That one they will tell me that actually it addresses comprehensively, but I find it too much, addressing too much issues in one bill. Secondly, Honorable Chair, I want to know, because the bill says that it prescribes the qualification of the chairperson, the presiding officer. How about the vice? And in case, and then leaves others hanging. It is only the presiding officer whose qualification is defined. In case he is away or she is away or absent, don't you think the vice is not qualified enough if it doesn't address either the chair and the vice shall be of either qualification to be high court judges? I want that one to be addressed. Then also, I think when he was presenting, he stated that actually there will be panels to address this. General court martial shall have panels, and there is only one qualified person who will preside over these other panels. Yet it is only the chair or the presiding officer qualified to preside over the court martial. And then also, I think Honorable Dur also hinted on it. Why don't we leave the Judicial Service Commission to do it in consultation with the Ministry of Defense instead of vice versa? Because we know in civilian courts or courts of judicature, it is always the Judicial Service and then eventually the President appoints. I wanted the clarity on that. And then what would be wrong to say Land Forces Command, Air Force Command, and not only Special Force Command? And then that one, we need the law should be clear. The law should be clear. We are making a law, and the law should not have any gaps that can be exploited. And then exceptional cases. Who really will determine exceptional cases? Apart from saying the crimes in exceptional cases are this and this and this, who will determine that actually now here you are supposed to not to go to court martial and go to the courts of judicature? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable